Snow fell in quiet sheets across the ridge, soft enough to muffle death. The wind hissed between jagged stones and torn banners left behind by retreating armies, whispering the last words of those who had vanished into the storm. Through the haze of snow, an alien sniper waited, motionless, patient, a silhouette carved from shadow and steel. His name, translated through human tongues, meant Watcher Beyond Sight. His real name was a frequency, a vibration no human ear could bear. He had been waiting for hours, thermal vision fixed on the narrow pass below, where one human soldier was said to be crossing, alone. The sniper's fingers flexed once, long and skeletal beneath the plating of his gauntlet. The rifle on his shoulder wasn't a weapon as much as it was an extension of his will, a living device of alien craft that pulsed softly with bioluminescent veins. One breath, one squeeze, and he could end a legend. That was his mission. The human sniper had been a ghost among the alien battalions for months now, destroying artillery, sabotaging their command posts, and killing officers without ever being seen. They called him the Phantom of Ridge 9. To the alien warlords, he was an irritation. To the Watcher, he was prey that needed to learn fear. Below, the valley was a graveyard of machines. Burn-out mechs and shredded drones lay frozen in contorted shapes, the remains of battles that had once roared across these peaks. Now only the snow moved. The alien adjusted his scope. Through the thermal haze, he saw it, a faint pulse of warmth, low to ground, moving slowly between wreckage. The human, crawling through the bones of war. The sniper's focus sharpened. His breath became deliberate, heart rate steady. His kind were trained from birth to erase hesitation, to feel no pity, no rage, only purpose. He had executed kings, generals, and insurgents from half a world away. But as his targeting lens aligned over that human figure, something in his chest tightened, not emotion, but recognition of the challenge. He whispered in his native tongue, "Let the ridge decide who deserves to live." Miles below, Sergeant Dane Cole was freezing. His camo was crusted with frost, his hand stiff on the stock of a human-made sniper rifle. Old, scratched, half-malfunctioning, but reliable in its defiance. He had been tracking the alien for 2 days through broken terrain, knowing he was being hunted in return. The alien had already claimed 3 of his team. Their bodies had been found in positions too precise to be random. Cole knew what it meant, a sniper duel, one he couldn't afford to lose. He took a shallow breath, biting down the taste of metal in his mouth. The cold was merciless. Every breath was a needle, every heartbeat an echo he feared the alien might detect. But what weighed heavier was the thought of the children in the valley below, civilians trapped in shelters, hiding from orbiting patrol ships. If Cole didn't end this sniper, the alien army would regain control of the ridge, and the valley would fall. Through his scope, he saw nothing but snow and silence. The alien had the high ground, higher altitude, better range, thermal advantage. Cole knew this wasn't a fair fight, but fairness had died months ago. Humanity was surviving on scraps, guerrilla strikes, and hope thinner than the air he breathed. Then, through the static of his comm, a faint voice broke through, one of the few resistance spotters still alive. "Dane, you got 15 minutes before the blizzard hits full force. If you're going to make a move, it has to be now." He clicked twice on his comm to confirm. No words wasted. He lifted his scope again, scanning the ridge. He knew where he would have been if he were the alien, a place with both line of sight and concealment. He narrowed it to one cluster of rocks, jagged like the teeth of some frozen beast. His instincts screamed at him. That's where the shot would come from. Cole's pulse slowed. He remembered his training, every breath, every twitch of muscle. He wasn't a hero. He was just a man who refused to quit breathing when everyone else stopped. He steadied his rifle, feeling the familiar tremor of adrenaline merging with calm. He had one chance. The alien watched him through 3 overlapping lenses. He could almost taste the heat of human blood in the air, sense the heartbeat beneath the frost. He squeezed halfway on the trigger, waiting for the wind to settle. The universe seemed to hold its breath. A crack of movement, barely a flicker of motion, registered on his thermal display. He adjusted, aligning the shot. Just as his weapon's targeting system locked, his scope flashed white, an overcharge warning. The alien frowned, confused. Then he realized The human had thrown a heat flare, not to blind him, but to bait him into recalibrating. A mistake that cost seconds. Cole saw the shimmer of the alien rifle glint through snow, just for a heartbeat. That was all he needed. He fired. The bullet's echo vanished into the storm. Silence. Through the drifting snow. Cole thought he saw something collapse, a dark figure slipping down the ridge like a broken shadow. He didn't celebrate. He didn't move. The snow swallowed sound and shape alike, leaving only the heartbeat of the mountain. He whispered to himself, "That's one story I'm not dying in." Then he crawled deeper into the white, leaving behind no tracks, only the quiet promise of another hunter waiting to rise. The ridge went still again, but something unseen watched from higher up, recording, waiting. The duel wasn't over, just begun. The storm hit like an avalanche of ghosts. Snow swept across the ridge in blinding sheets, erasing footprints, burying the blood, and concealing everything that had just transpired. Cole moved with measured caution, his muscles trembling from the cold but his mind razor-sharp. He had fired only once, and though he believed the alien sniper might be down, belief wasn't survival. He had learned long ago that certainty could get a soldier killed. The mountain wasn't celebrating his victory. It was warning him to stay alert. The wind screamed against his helmet, static gnawing at his earpiece. The spotter's voice had gone silent minutes ago, likely cut off by the storm or by something worse. Cole adjusted his visor, watching as the world faded into white noise. His suit's thermal sensors flickered erratically. Even the tech was losing the will to fight. He crouched beside a rock outcropping, scanning the ridge above through the blur of snow. No movement, no sign of life. But the ridge was deceptive, alive with deception like the battlefield itself. He checked his rifle again, every movement slow and deliberate. The weapon was old, worn smooth by years of conflict, but it had one thing the alien rifle didn't: reliability in chaos. Human weapons were imperfect, unpredictable, and somehow more stubborn than the soldiers who carried them. He smirked under his breath, a rare flicker of pride. "Still breathing," he muttered. It wasn't a boast. It was a ritual, a reminder that existence itself was defiance. But far above, something stirred. The alien sniper wasn't dead. The bullet had grazed the upper plating of his shoulder, cracking the surface but sparing the vital core beneath. Pain wasn't an emotion his species truly felt. But the signal interference and the brief sensory overload flooded his neural network with static, a taste of what humans might call agony. He rose slowly, one arm trembling, his breathing irregular. The snow had almost swallowed his body, making him blend perfectly into the terrain. If the human thought him dead, that was an advantage, and he intended to use it. He recalibrated his weapon, watching the heat signature of the human below flicker through snow interference. The creature's endurance intrigued him. Humans were fragile yet relentless, weak, but powered by something the alien couldn't quantify. He had studied them during campaigns across other worlds. Their history filled with wars, collapses, and comebacks. Where other species surrendered to despair, humans adapted. It was maddening. It was admirable. The alien adjusted his stance, aligning his rifle with the faint trace of heat below. His targeting system struggled. The storm was too strong. Visibility was down to almost nothing. He had to rely on instinct, not sensors. He hated that. Instinct was human. Below, Cole began to move again. The ridge was narrowing ahead, turning into a choke point where two cliffs almost met. He could feel it, the trap closing in. Every step forward demanded faith that the next wouldn't be his last. His breath steamed against the inside of his mask, fogging his visor. He wiped it with a gloved hand, exhaling slow and steady. His mind wandered for a moment, back to the team he'd lost. Ramirez, Hale, Jean. They'd followed him up this cursed mountain. Brave, loyal, foolish. He carried their dog tags in a pouch against his chest, the last way of their existence. Each tag clinked softly when he moved. It wasn't noise that endangered him. It was memory. He pushed it aside. Focus, he told himself. Regret was for the dead. A sudden vibration underfoot made him freeze. The alien had fired, not at him, but at the rocks above. A calculated move. The shot triggered a controlled avalanche. snow roaring down in a white wall. Cole threw himself sideways as tons of snow cascaded past, the air exploding in pressure. He rolled, dug in his rifle, and fired blindly uphill. 3 shots, pure reflex. Then silence. His ears rang. He was half buried, gasping for air, cold seeping through every layer of armor. Up above, the alien blinked, analyzing. 2 of the human's rounds had missed entirely. The third had shattered a chunk of his cover. The human's accuracy, even blind, was remarkable. He admired it almost as much as he despised it. Primitive precision, he whispered in his native tongue. The words hissed like frost cracking glass. He adjusted again, lining up for the killing blow. Cole's breathing steadied. He lay motionless beneath the snow, counting seconds. 1, 2, 3. The alien would expect him to crawl, to panic. But Cole knew the rhythm of hunters, the pause between breaths, the wait before the trigger squeeze. He waited for it, the moment where silence becomes sound. Then it came, a faint click. Cole fired before he could think. The bullet tore through the storm, the sound swallowed instantly by wind. There was no flash, no scream, only a sharp pulse of movement on the ridge, followed by silence once more. He rose, half crawling, half dragging himself toward higher ground. His body ached, lungs burning with the cold air, but a strange calm settled over him. He had felt this before in countless battles, the moment when life and death balanced perfectly, when fear turned to focus. He reached the ledge, peering over. Through the swirl of snow, he saw the alien silhouette slump to one knee. The being's weapon lay half-buried beside him, glowing faintly. The alien's head turned, lenses flickering in faint light. For a heartbeat, their eyes met. One human, one alien, 2 predators bound by the same brutal law. Cole could have finished it. He could have pulled the trigger and ended it right there, but he hesitated. Something in that motionless figure stopped him. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe recognition. Maybe he saw in the alien what he hated in himself. A survivor who refused to die simply because the world told him to. The alien didn't raise his weapon. He just stared, the storm howling around them, until both figures vanished again into the snow's fury. Neither knew it. But those 20 seconds would decide the fate of more than just a duel. They would reshape the balance between 2 species who had forgotten what mercy looked like. The storm faded into a gray hush by dawn. The ridge, once alive with fury, now lay silent, an open wound of snow and broken steel. Cole emerged from beneath a shallow drift, armor crusted in frost, his breath ragged but steady. His fingers trembled as he adjusted his rifle, scanning the horizon where light began to pierce through thinning clouds. Every part of him screamed for rest, yet his instincts refused to yield. Somewhere up there, the alien sniper still lived. He felt it the way prey feels the gaze of a predator, unseen but undeniable. He trudged upward, boots sinking deep into snow, each step slower than the last. The mountain had stripped him down to his core. Hunger gnawed at him. Exhaustion dulled his vision. But beneath it all pulsed something fierce and relentless. It wasn't hatred anymore. It wasn't even survival. It was resolve. The quiet oath of a man who refused to let his fallen comrades die for nothing. Somewhere behind this storm, beyond the endless war, humanity was still fighting. And as long as one man held his ground, that fight had meaning. Above him, half buried among the rocks, the alien sniper stirred. His systems were failing. Targeting lenses cracked, armor leaking dull green fluid that steamed in the cold. Yet his grip on the rifle remained iron. He had never lost a duel. Never. To yield was unthinkable. But even as his processors tried to calculate trajectories, his thoughts drifted, not to tactics or victory, but to curiosity. Why did this human persist? The data didn't add up. Statistically, Cole should have died hours ago. Yet there he was, climbing through death's shadow with the same stubborn pulse of defiance that no simulation could replicate. The alien reached for his weapon, forcing his body upright. Pain rippled through him again, unfamiliar and unwelcome. He'd seen pain in others, humans writhing under plasma fire, soldiers begging for mercy. But now, Feeling it himself, he began to understand why they fought so fiercely. Pain made them real. It gave weight to their purpose. Perhaps, he thought, that was what his species lacked. Cole reached a narrow plateau, taking cover behind a slab of shattered drone plating. He pulled a crack scope from his pack and scanned the ridge. Nothing but white glare and silence. Then, faintly, he saw movement, subtle, deliberate, the tilt of a rifle barrel catching a shard of light. His heartbeat slowed. There, that was him. He steadied his weapon, but something in his gut resisted. He could end it now, one clean shot. Yet his mind replayed that moment last night when they had locked eyes through the storm. There had been no hatred there, no rage, only recognition. Two soldiers shaped by the same cruelty, each a mirror of the other. The wind shifted. A sound like distant thunder rolled across the peaks. Alien aircraft sweeping low, searching for survivors. Cole knew if they spotted him, it was over. He had one choice: kill the sniper, silence the threat, and escape before the patrol arrived. He adjusted his scope again, finger tightening on the trigger. But before he could fire, a faint voice crackled through his comm. Static, fractured words from the Valley Command. Cole, evac inbound, 10 minutes. Ridge not safe, 10 minutes. That was all the time left to finish this. The alien lifted his own rifle, crosshairs finding the human's faint silhouette. He could sense the aircraft above, too, feel the vibration of their engines reverberating through the ice. He knew his commanders were coming. They would not spare the human. But something deeper stirred, a dissonance within his own code. For the first time, he questioned his purpose. If victory meant extinguishing something as unyielding as this human will, what was the point of conquest? Both rifles aligned in the same moment. Snow swirled between them, disguising which would fire first. The world held its breath. Then nothing. Neither moved. Seconds stretched, long and fragile, like glass. Cole exhaled slowly, lowering his weapon. No more, he whispered to himself. The words were barely sound, but they carried a weight that broke the silence. He slung his rifle over his shoulder and turned toward the extraction zone. Maybe this was what his captain had meant when he said, not every victory was about who dies. Sometimes it was about who chooses not to kill. The alien saw him walk away and felt something inside shift. Not anger, respect, perhaps even gratitude. He aimed his rifle again, not to shoot, but to cover the human's retreat. When the aircraft swept lower, he fired deliberately wide, drawing their attention to his own position. Plasma fire rained down, striking the ridge where he stood. The alien stayed still, defiant, protecting the human he had once sworn to destroy. Cole heard the blast behind him and turned briefly. Through the smoke and fire, he saw the alien fall, graceful, almost peaceful, consumed by the avalanche of his own sacrifice. He didn't understand why, and maybe he never would. But as the rescue craft ascended, Cole felt something new stir within him, a strange sense of honor born not from victory, but from understanding. He climbed aboard the evac shuttle, body shaking, eyes fixed on a ridge fading into distance. The pilot glanced back. You look like you've seen a ghost. Cole didn't answer right away. He just stared out the window, the sunrise reflecting off the snow where the sniper had fallen. Not a ghost, he finally said quietly. Just someone who remembered what it means to be alive. As the shuttle lifted toward the dawn, the ridge behind them vanished beneath a rising storm, burying all traces of the duel. Yet in that frozen silence, the mountain kept their story of two enemies who met on the edge of extinction and changed what it meant to fight. And though the war would rage on, something irreversible had shifted that day. Humanity had not only survived, it had been seen.